I don't know why that immediately started. It didn't connect me to YouTube, which surprises me. So I don't know if this is streaming on YouTube or not. Anyway, here I am. Good morning, April 23rd. I'll be going around the lake this morning because that's now my tradition on Fridays. If you do happen to be on YouTube and see this live, let me know, because yesterday I discovered it had been set on private for the live stream. Most people watch it on the replay anyway. Anyway, it's Friday and I'm going to walk around the lake because that's now my tradition. So here we go. It's cold too. It's -7 as I set out. A little warm up quickly. So it's hat and gloves again and coat. Getting that centered again. Kind of centered, not really centered. There you go. It's hard to tell on the crescents because of the curve whether I'm centered or not. Oop, squirrel. Yesterday I had a bunch of nonfiction stuff to do, so today I'm looking forward to getting back to the Tangled Stars. And I think I mentioned yesterday I've also had the notification that Kickstarter funds are coming in shortly. So I'll be plunging into editing and, well, reading, accepting, contracting, paying, editing, laying out, all that stuff, which will lead to an actual book in the fall. Last year it was September by the time I got it out. I suspect it'll be similar. Kickstarter version goes out first, and then the Kickstarter version goes out, but the commercial version will probably, this time around, I'll probably have it available at the same time. There was a delay last year because of the way I did the printing. I got a grant through Creative Saskatchewan and got, more traditional model for printing it. I don't know if I'll do that this year. I would like to perhaps stick to my original print-on-demand idea and see how that stacks up to the first one, because the only way to compare the two is to do them differently. The ebooks will be the same. They're available everywhere, including directly from Shadowpaw Press, shadowpawpress.com. A lot of ebooks available to download directly from there or from my other online store, edwardwillettshop.com. Don't do a lot of sales on there. I'd love to do more. I make the most money when people buy from Shadowpaw Press. Or edwardwillettshop.com. So just last week when I did this, there was snow on the ground. It was kind of foggy walking around the lake. Very picturesque. That's the one I used for the trailer for the station, I guess you'd call it. The preview of my YouTube channel, not station. And so people that show up there, that'll start playing, because it was so picturesque. This morning will be picturesque too, but without the snow, a little less so. And since we're still not into green everywhere, there's some green. I mean, look at the grass right there. They've got green. Looks like they're redoing their yard there. I guess since we're going around the lake, I have to mention all the Shards of Excalibur stuff again. So that's Harrington Mews, where Wally Knight lives, in the Shards of Excalibur books. In a house that's not real, but down at the far end there, so it would be roughly where the one at the end of the Mews is there. Only his is probably bigger than that. Has an indoor swimming pool, and backs like that one. It would back right onto the dike and the river, Wascana Creek. At one point, the kids come through this underpass, which is still blocked off, pedestrian underpass. Shards of Excalibur has its own website, shardsofexcalibur.com, and because it was published by Kato Books here in Regina went out of business. So I have a lot of stock that I got cheap from Kato when it went under. And then I've brought out new ebook editions through Shadowpaw Press. So it's available for, that was noisy, for $3.99 each. I can't remember if I offer a deal for all 5 ebooks. I offer one for all 5 print books. So check that out at shadowpawpress.com, and if you're interested. Bit of jaywalk. I may still jaywalk. Car coming the other way. This is such a long light if you catch it wrong for the pedestrians. Especially this time of day. I think they keep it a long way for the pedestrians because this is a heavy traffic time on the... There we go. Speaker's Corner, as I pointed out before, those lamps originally were in Hyde Park in London. We might see ice on the lake again since it was so cold last night. Well, it looks like they're cleaning up over there by the underpass. Maybe it'll open up soon. Sure makes getting across Albert Street faster than waiting for that light. It's pretty, just not as pretty as last weekend. Doesn't look like it was cold enough to put a skin of ice on the water for the most part anyway, last night. Just looks like open water. Saskatchewan Legislative Building over there, Wascana Lake, created by the dam under the bridge over there, which we walked over yesterday. Last week when I walked around here, I had the whole place to myself. I just saw somebody pushing a bicycle back behind me, but other than that, we'll see. I didn't pass anybody or get passed by anybody, joggers or anybody, last Friday. If you happen to be on Facebook or YouTube, if it's streaming properly on YouTube, which I'm not at all sure about, drop me a note. I'll know you're there. We saw bunnies yesterday. We'll see lots of geese today. I call them bunnies, snowshoe hares. Over by the Royal Saskatchewan Museum, we saw those. Well, I did. If you watched this, you, so that makes we. Well, there are people way up ahead of me. I probably won't catch them. So it'll feel like I'm alone with the lake. See, last week, looking out that way, it was foggy enough you couldn't see Roberts Place, that tower over there. Roberts Plaza. I guess plaza and place mean the same thing anyway. So it made the lake look much bigger. Now you can see to the far side, it looks smaller. Something in my eye, that always makes these sorts of things fun because I can't do anything about it. Except tear up. So going back to the Kickstarter, if you're new to these walks, I kickstarted an anthology featuring short stories by people who were guests during the second year of my podcast, The World Shapers, theworldshapers.com, where I talk to science fiction and fantasy authors about the creative process. And that follows up a successful kickstarting last year of Shapers of Worlds, Volume 1. I didn't call it Volume 1 then, which featured first-year guests. And I assume that next year about this time, hopefully I'll be celebrating the successful kickstarting of Volume 3. Never guarantee with Kickstarters that it will succeed, but it's done so twice. Will there be a Volume 4? I don't know. I'm giving thought to pulling the plug on the podcast after 3 years. It's very time consuming. I mean, and I guess it's good marketing, but I can't see that it's had any impact on book sales of any sort. They remain lousy for the most part, so well, they always feel lousy to the author. All I want is for everybody in the world to buy my book. What's so hard to understand about that? That's a version of a Peanuts cartoon. Snoopy writes, "Dear Sir, with regard to the recent rejection letter you sent me, what I wanted you to do was to publish my book and pay me $1 million. What part of that didn't you understand?" So there's Willow Island, and as I've mentioned before in the Shards of Excalibur, well, first of all, Lady of the Lake shows up to the left of the island there in that bit of water. But at the end of the books, Excalibur gets thrown into Wascana Lake, and it's just offshore, somewhere between here and Wascana Lake and Willow Island over there. So I keep telling people that. Nobody's brought scuba gear to go looking for it yet. I don't know what's with that. Probably dry enough to take the shortcut here this time. Through here. Last time there was snow here, so I didn't. More geese. The water's a very pretty color this morning. Very blue. The geese are very geesey. Tempted to take my hat off because my head's getting warm, but it's still chilly enough. I think my ears would get cold, so always difficult to make that call. Won't be long. I'll be taking the hat off. Just cut off a little loop of the path there. So over there is somewhere in there is where Excalibur ends up. In the last book, maybe those geese are looking for it. Water's very pretty this morning. Cut off another loop here of the concrete or asphalt path. We'll go down here today. I don't think we did last time. Sure we did last time because of the snow. Again, it'll all be prettier when the leaves come out. If you're watching this live, leave me a note. Should see it. I have no idea if it's on YouTube Live or not. Still trying to figure that out, why it suddenly decided to make it private. And it had always been public before. I'm not sure what I did to make that happen or what I can do to make it not happen. I won't know till I get home whether this one is live on YouTube or not, unless somebody is watching it on YouTube and leaves me a note, then I'll know. But I don't typically get more than 1 or 2 live viewers on YouTube anyway. More people watch the squirrel. had words for me. Well, one word. They don't have a lot of words, just the one. Oh, well, that was a different word. So maybe he has two. So again, this is where the island is, and where the Lady of the Lake shows up in Shards of Excalibur. Right at the end of that parking lot where the boulders are, those people were sitting on, between there and Willett Island. And she gives my main character, Marianne Forsyth, and Wally Knight, whom I pointed out, more geese, a goose, challenges them, gives them a quest to go find, and over there you can see the pavilion. So I've never actually been over to Willow Island, but you can go there and picnic. Gives them the quest to find the scattered pieces of Arthur's sword Excalibur, which are all over the world. They have to do that before Merlin can. He's the bad guy in my story. Rex Major, computer magnate, as in Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, magnate, not magnet. Fortunately for the kids, Marianne can transport them through water. In the first book, running water. In the second book, or not running water, but fresh water. She can't do it in the ocean because she's the Lady of the Lake, not the Lady of the Sea. But in the second book, she finds out she can also transport through the clouds, which enables them to get anywhere in the world. You know, when you're doing a fantasy, when you're doing a fantasy, you make the magic do what you need it to do, while at the same time trying to make it, you restrict it in ways that make sense and that make the story work, and you enable it in ways that make sense and make the story work. It's definitely a goose morning coming through. Look at Willow Island. Last time you couldn't really see the ledge over there because of the fog. Today you can. There it is, picturesquely framed by the trees. Well, not so picturesquely. Branches are kind of in the way. Anyway, lots of views of it as we continue this walk. Like I mentioned before, over there is the Queen building, it's called, HMCS Queen. Oh, and some geese just gave us a flyby just to make it exciting. It's treated like a ship. It's where the naval cadets train. So it has the name of a ship, even though it's a building as far from the sea as you could get. There's a better picturesque view of the lake through the framed by the branches. If anybody's watching, still haven't had any comments this morning. I suspect I'm once again somehow private on YouTube. It acted different this morning. I don't know what's going on there. It just started. Usually it sends me to YouTube first before it starts live streaming. And this morning it just started. So I just don't know if I'm on YouTube right now or not. But I should be on Facebook. Hopefully I'm on Facebook Live. Won't know unless somebody says hello. This is the classic Regina walk around this lake. It's about 5 kilometers, I think, from my door all the way around the lake back to my door. I'll find out because I turned on Map My Walk. I keep forgetting I have it. It's just an app that'll show me the route I took and how far it was. We stayed up here last time. This time we'll go down here. A little closer to the water. Always the ledge over there, lit up by the morning sun. Always geese. Footbridge up there, which I've been over a couple of times. Up above it, there's the lookout. If I'd stayed up above, you can walk out to the end of the lookout to look at this end of the legislative building over there. And then you can take steps down to this level or turn around and go back. I'll take the footbridge. You can walk around that direction, but I'll take the footbridge. You take the footbridge and I'll take the low bridge. Or the no bridge, I should say. Comes the footbridge. And as I've mentioned before, there'll be a fountain in that pool later for aeration purposes. Keep the oxygen levels up in the lake for the fishies. Get a nice panoramic view of the lake here. Downtown, as you go on around, and there's the footpath we just came along. Wascana Lake in the morning. Oof. Bit of a step down from the bridge. Sharp slope, really, not a step down. Nobody's watching. At least you're not saying hi. Try not to take it personally. Watch my feet. Not you, me. Ah. This is where the rowing club hangs out. Down here where this boathouse is, and then up ahead of us is the marina where Bar Willow is, restaurant. Might as well go down this way. There's often boats stacked out here in the summertime. And there is one over there at that quay, or pier, whatever you want to call it. This one is taken over by gulls over here. It's the gulls. A couple of boats there. Probably belong to the Wascana Center Authority. I'll walk through the playground here. Oop. Nicest deck in the city is up there, overlooking the lake at Bar Willow. There's been a restaurant in there for a long time, but Hasn't been the same restaurant all that time. It's changed a few times in the years that I've been here. There it is, front of Bar Willow. No in-person dining right now. Everybody continues to cower in fear. Kind of like the patterns on these gates. The geese. Wascana Center Authority logo is that blue leaf. That's a boat launch. Well, I've seen a couple of people, but not really walking, just those people sitting at the end of the parking lot back by Willow Island. Otherwise, I once more pretty much have the lake to myself. Literally, since nobody appears to be watching this live, I'm really alone and talking to myself. Okay, I'm gonna come back to the middle. Oh, there's somebody. Oh, I must be on YouTube because that's one from Calgary. I guess I am live on YouTube this morning. Good to know. Good morning. It's a beautiful morning here at the Wascana Lake. Below freezing, but at least it was when I set out. Probably only a couple of degrees below by now. It was -7 when I started, but it was -10 when I first checked it, an hour before that. So it's climbing rapidly, and in fact, I think I am taking my hat off right now. So again, one of these days I'll come over here and park, either at the Center of the Arts or maybe over in the parking lot here in the park. So I can go over to that side of the lake. The path continues and takes you to the University of Regina, which would be a interesting place to walk. So I'll do that someday. I don't know about next week. Next week, of course, I'll worry about income tax. Since I do it myself and I'm a freelancer, it's not a simple procedure. It usually takes me a couple of days. On the plus side, as a freelancer and also as a member of Canadian Actors Equity, so it's not just as a writing freelancer, but as an acting and theatrical freelancer, there's a lot of expenses that can be claimed, a lot of business expenses. Pretty much cost money to make money when you're freelancing. So I usually don't end up owing too much, but you can't just tell the government, hey, I don't think I owe very much. You don't need me to fill out a form, do you? They just don't let you get away with that. So next week I have to get after that. Meanwhile, Tangled Stars continues to run slow. Maybe I'll get in a good chunk of revision and rereading today as I work up towards plunging ahead and really powering through the last 60 or 70,000 words. Whatever it's going to be. I don't actually know yet how long it's going to be. It's contracted at 150,000, but that's just a number plucked out of thin air. And the advance was not dependent on the length. It's the same advance I normally get. So I'm getting paid more to write a longer book, unless the longer book sells better, which is always a possibility. People like long books. Yeah, with the breeze off of the lake here, I'm wishing I'd left my hat on, so you can't really win. So, kind of a boat landing, I guess. There's usually birds on that little platform. Still putting off walking around Pine Island here. You can cross that footbridge and walk around Pine Island. But if you do, once the little waterfall's going on the other side, then I'll be able to walk under the waterfall. So, kind of saving that for a special treat. It's also for aeration purposes. But always lots of birds here. Gulls sitting on the footbridge. Geese. Down there's usually geese and ducks, and there are again. People come here and feed them. It's one reason they gather here. More gulls sitting over there in the little spit of land. Gaggle of gulls? I don't know. What do you call it? What's the collective noun for gulls? Flock, I guess. Flock of seagulls. At least that's if you're naming a band. That's what you use. Let's look that way so you can see that building in the middle is the one I've walked by where we get so much wind close to home. So my house is basically just to the left of that. And then that building on Pine Island was built for the Western Canada Summer Games or Canada Summer Games when they used the lake for the rowing events. So it was kind of the timing stand, the judges stand. And it's been used whenever they have regattas and things on the lake. I haven't been in it. Don't know what's in it exactly. Not much, I wouldn't think. Keep moving. Like I said, I have Map My Walk turned on, an app that I have, which will plot my route and tell me how far it was. I used it last fall when I was jogging. That's how I was able to brag about, jogged 4.5 kilometers, which is not much in real running terms, but for me, that was impressive. Between the flat feet and the height and the weight and the age, I was pleased I was able to jog 4 kilometers without stopping. Now I'm walking instead because I talk. So probably not quite as much exercise, but that was killing my knees, so that was one reason jogging doesn't seem like something I will continue. And as I mentioned, walking and talking and videoing is a great motivator for me. I look forward to it every day. I think I'm going to stop and put my hat back on because my ears are getting quite nippy. So there'll be some extraneous camera movement there. It didn't really work either. I got to change hands. Didn't want to go on. It's better. Now my ears are not freezing. my glove back on. Play-by-play. Ed Willett changing gloves and hat. Hey, I don't have it to myself this morning. There goes a cyclist. Okay, now it's all confused because of all the weird camera motion. See if we can get it more or less centered again. Pick up the pace on the walking again. The other thing I'm doing now is millions, I can't remember the exact name of it, but there's somebody local that I know that's they've been walking in support of the arts. And so I'm going to count my steps for that, to support that. You can, look for pledges. I don't know if I'll do that or not. Some do, some don't. But I'm walking anyway, and I can at least express my support for the arts, which have suffered greatly due to COVID. I am in the arts. Writers perhaps have not suffered as much as, say, actors, musicians. At least we can still do what we do. But if you're a stage actor or a live musician, well, as opposed to a dead musician, someone who performs live, then, you just haven't had gigs, which means no income. And since most musicians and actors don't have a lot of income to begin with, it's been very tough. Of course, I am an actor too, but it's such a sideline that I probably wouldn't have done any professional work in the last year anyway, so I didn't really notice that aspect of it. There were shows I had auditioned for Beauty and the Beast at Persephone Theatre in Saskatchewan, but of course that went away. And now even their artistic director has gone away, so things are in a bit of a kerfuffle up there. But still have the opportunity to do little bits. So I've mentioned before the flip the script, gender swapped Broadway songs online performance that Regina Lake Musical Theatre is doing, and I'm part of that. On Wednesday I recorded the quartet that I'm singing. It's just me, but it's a quartet, so I had to record all 4 parts separately, and then they'll be edited in front of a green screen. They'll be edited together to look like I'm a quartet standing in a row. Can't wait to see that. I did a audio mix just to make sure I hadn't missed anything. It sounded pretty good. There's a little a cappella section at the end that got off, just not in unison time-wise, because it's in harmony, but we weren't together, I guess is a better word, not unison. Me and the other 3 Bs, simply because I just had to kind of feel it. And 2 of them I felt one way, and 2 of them I felt a little slower, so that's a little not together. They may be able to fix that in editing. I was able to fix it in the audio edit. So once that goes up, then I will also be posting my section separately on my YouTube channel. And the music itself, probably put on my website, my recording. But I have to wait till the performance, because it's a bit of a surprise what it is we're all doing. So I won't tell you what the quartet is. It's probably not what you would expect. This should be very funny. Then my wife and I did a duet, which we also recorded on Wednesday, because that was the deadline. Wouldn't want to do these things early. And my daughter is also doing a solo, and we recorded that on Wednesday. So we got it all in by the deadline. That's all that matters. I can't remember the date of the production. Sometime in May. Traditionally Regina Lyric Musical Theatre, and before that it was called Regina Lyric Light Opera. Our big spring show has traditionally been done the Victoria Day weekend, the the week after the Victoria Day weekend, so the very last weekend in May, because that long weekend was an excellent opportunity for people who are not professionals and therefore have jobs would have a day off, and we could do a full day of rehearsal, which you usually need, because the other thing about a community theater is, you know, people aren't professionals, they have jobs, so rehearsal is far limited from what you get in a professional show. Like, it stretches out longer. You might be rehearsing for 3 months, but it's only, you know, even if you're a lead and in almost every scene, you might be getting 6 or 7 hours a week. Whereas in a professional show, of course, it's a full day at the office, 6 days a week. And for a musical, it might be 3 weeks. So overall, you're still getting way more rehearsal time than you do in a community theater show. Depends on the scale of the professional show, how long they will rehearse, and also what their budget is, because what's the real cost? Paying actors, paying for the theater, paying for publicity. There's a lot of costs in professional theater, but the actors are one of the main ones. That's why most theaters do smaller cast shows. Most smaller theaters do smaller cast shows. Even if it's a musical with a big cast, they'll double cast things. So when we did Beauty and the Beast at Saskatchewan in 2007, when I played Monsieur Dark and a bunch of other things, I played Monsieur Dark and a bunch of other things because having a small principal part, I was free to do, you know, animated carpet and dancing fork and be our guest, and townsperson, and all that sort of thing. Back that way you can see Center of the Arts. Connexus Arts Center over there is the main theater here in town for big productions. It seats about 2,000. Yes, you can come back now. Once again, the gimbal decided, oh, you want to point in that direction? No, I don't. I just pointed you in that direction for a minute. I want you to come back. Looks like my horizon is a little off again, but that's very hard to... It just is. It depends on so many things. Both the way I set it up to start with, when I try to get it level, then as I walk, my angle of my wrist will change too. It's only particularly noticeable probably in Saskatchewan because it's so flat. We're going to go this way today instead of following the path all the way around. Just for a different... I mean, I've come this way before, but again, this is a fountain that gives you a nice view of the, which will be running later, nice view of the ledge. And geese. There are always geese. Does this tell us about the fountain here? Yes. This fountain is one of a pair which stood in Trafalgar Square in London from 1845 to 1939. They were designed by Sir Charles Barry, R.A., architect of the British House of Parliament. The National Art Collections Fund of Britain presented the pair of fountains to Canada. The other is located in Ottawa. So, it used to be in Trafalgar Square. Which is interesting. When my grandfather-in-law, Samson J. Goodfellow, went overseas in the First World War, he probably saw that fountain in Trafalgar Square, and then later it followed him back to Regina. I published his First World War memoirs entitled One Lucky Devil through Shadowpaw Press. He wrote them up late in life, and okay, Gimbal, he's just wandering everywhere today. You want to go straight ahead, and I want you to look straight ahead, gimbal. I should give him a name. I should give the gimbal a name. Call him Fred or something. Okay, Fred, straighten up. Anyway, I published one, Lucky Devil, the First World War memoirs of Samson J. Goodfellow. He wrote them up probably when he was in the 70s, not too many years before he died. And they were in the house. He had them typed up, but never did anything more than that, shared them with a few people. And I put them online a few years ago, just as is, but I always thought they'd make a good book. And once I started Chautauqua Press, that was always one of my first goals, was those memoirs, publish those memoirs. So I did. You can find them at Chautauqua Press or anywhere. They're on Amazon, they're everywhere, in both print and ebook. There's the ledge, morning light, always good from this side. Still a little bit of snow down there in the shade. I'm sure that the gimbal now is sure I'm going to point over in that direction, and I'll have to straighten it out again. Oh, maybe not. I was thinking of going up the steps there, but there's people over there, so I'll stay here. And we'll cross over to the gardens and by the statue of Queen Elizabeth, gone by before, which I mentioned was, well, she just celebrated her 95th birthday. And she was here on her, what would that have been, 2005, 16 years ago, so 79th birthday, maybe, was that day? She was here to dedicate this statue. I mean, she was here on a royal visit, but she dedicated the statue. And as I mentioned before, my daughter and I, she was only 4, 3 turning 4, I guess, stood over here in the rain. And my daughter got to give flowers to the Queen. The Queen went by and actually kind of missed her. And then she looked back. Somebody said, who was with us, said that it was actually Lauren Calvert, the Premier, who pointed out that the Queen had missed this little girl with flowers. And she came back and got Alice's flowers, and I got a really nice close-up picture of the Queen with the flowers and a picture of Alice with the flowers. I couldn't get them together because of the angle, but you can tell this is Alice's flowers, and then here's the Queen taking the flowers. And the picture is, well, it's on my website somewhere, and I put it on Facebook again as a memory. Facebook reminded me of it, but it was the last photo I think I ever took that appeared in the Weyburn Review, where I used to be reporter and news editor. I sent it down there and it was on the front page, which was really nice. So they're cleaning stuff up. Probably the flower beds look like they've been prepared some here, so it shouldn't be too long till they plant flowers. This is a lovely garden then, and later in the year you'll see it, assuming I keep walking, which is certainly the plan. Taking off my hat again. I'm gonna get too close to all that dust. It'll be in my contacts for sure. I hate dust. It's kind of a boat landing there. When they do the Plywood Cup, which is a race across the lake, and boats that are built by various businesses out of plywood. You can use plywood and masking tape. I don't think you get any nails. I don't know exactly all the rules, but that's where they finish Usually a few of them sink, so there's rescue boats standing by. My daughter has a friend who's in marine engineering at University in Halifax, and not Halifax, St. John's, Memorial, that's the university? I think so, in Newfoundland. Anyway, so of course she's designing boats, ships, and she was visiting 2 years ago at the time of the Plywood Cup, and she was going along saying, that one will probably win, that one will sink, that one will make it but will be slow, and she called it pretty much accurately for all of these plywood boats. For some reason, boats made me think of the SpaceX launch today. Cool. Reused rocket and capsule, taking 4 astronauts to the International Space Station, a load of cargo. Of course, SpaceX is going to take us back to the moon, NASA has announced. And if Elon Musk gets his way, to Mars. So I wish him all the best. We're going to, I was going to say there, we are going to, I'm not going to Mars. There was a time I would have. I don't think I'm good prime astronaut candidate. Never was. I'm certainly not now. What I was going to say was that Elon Musk has a Saskatchewan connection because he has relatives out by Swift Current. And when he was a teenager, 18 or so, he worked on a farm out there for a while. And I've seen a picture of him from then. Wearing a cowboy hat. Obviously playing up the fact he was out in the West. I assume he still has relatives over there. For all I know, he visits them occasionally. It's funny, the Saskatchewan connections you find. My wife and I joke that everywhere you go in Canada, you'll meet people who are from Saskatchewan, which is true. And everywhere in Saskatchewan, you'll meet people who used to live in Weyburn, which makes Weyburn, where I grew up, the center, obviously the social and cultural center of Canada. Little known fact. All 10,000 people. It's only 6,000 when we moved there. They were calling it 10,000, but it wasn't 10,000. Well, looks like we will be having to take a crosswalk again. So we leave the lake on this traditional walk around the lake morning. I plan to continue doing this on Friday mornings while walking other places other days of the week. Okay. Went down that way a few days ago. Might be able to jaywalk here. Red that way. They're starting to come the other way, but they're a long way away. So we'll take our chances. Morning. Mentioned before, another house. I pointed out one yesterday with Mayans on the steps, and they've got them too. Very New York Public Library of them. Haven't had any comments from Facebook. One lone comment on YouTube, so not a big let's watch Ed walk around the lake morning for people, I guess. Can't imagine why. I must be utterly fascinating. Although, I admit, if you've watched a lot of these, I've undoubtedly told the same stories multiple times now. Certainly I have about the Shards of Excalibur books. Pointed out the same features multiple times. Kind of like being married. If you keep watching this, you'll hear all my stories. Unlike being married, you don't have to pretend that you haven't heard them before. Not that my wife does. She told me the other day I said something many times, and I said, I have not. She says, yes, you have. Something to do with playing football. I only played football for 1 year, so I don't have a lot of football stories. I was a center. Good position for someone who can't really run or catch the ball or hold on to it very well. I could hold on to it long enough to snap it. And I didn't even do the long snaps. I just did the regular snaps. But I was big, roughly the same size when I played football as I am now. 6'1", 6'2", something like that. Over 200 pounds, I think I was already. So I was good at standing up and getting in the way of people who were trying to get to the quarterback, which is, or knock people out of the way of the runner, which is kind of the main function of the center. Blocking. I stepped on something on my foot that's now making a crunching noise every time I take a step. I don't know what that is. Either a rock or a piece of glass. Okay, Leopold Crescent. Davin School ahead of us. Almost home. How long has this been? It'll be just about an hour in total. When I'm not walking and talking, I can do it in 45 minutes to 50 minutes. So I walk faster, so I'm probably undercutting the exercise portion a bit by talking. But it's more motivation to do it, so I'm doing more at a slightly slower pace rather than talking myself out of it more often because I don't want to work as hard. So probably comes out even. So I figure as long as I can walk and talk without being too out of breath, I'm unlikely to keel over in the middle of one of these. If I do, I hope enough people are watching live that somebody calls 911. I guess that's another reason to do this. Probably go viral if I collapsed while walking, but I'd rather not. Thank you. Alrighty. All right. So, if anybody is with me live here at the end, thanks for watching. If you're watching the video later, thanks for that. And I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.